Hi friends, it's Becky, and today I feel like doing some bead weaving using beading thread and a needle, and some 2-hole beads, some seed beads, and some fire polish beads that I got from Adornable Elements in my Beads of the Month subscriptions. I got the 2-hole bead subscription, and in that we have these silky beads, which, if you recall, earlier this week we did a video with some flat silkies, and these silkies have a little bump on one side. The other side is flat. They are still sort of diamondy shaped, and they still have 2 holes that run parallel to each other. So I'm going to be doing this with this silky bead. I've got some 4mm fire polish beads that came in the fire polish beads of the month, and I'm trying to decide which 11/0 seed bead I want to use with this. I am leaning towards this one just because it'll give us a little bit of contrast. This one is very, very similar color-wise and shine-wise to the silkies, and I think I want more contrast in it, so I'm probably going to be using this one. Both of these also came in the June Beads of the Month clubs. So to get started, I have pulled off about a wingspan's worth of beading thread. I've got it already on my beading needle. I'm also going to be using this button that also came in the Adornable Elements, the Findings add-on bag that I got, and I'm going to be grabbing just a bead, a random bead, one that's not in this project, to use as a bead stopper. So I'm just going to put that on my needle, scooch it all the way, almost all the way to the end. I'm going to leave myself about a 4-inch tail, something like that, something I can weave in to the work after I've done all of my bead weaving, and then we can get started on that. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is pick up one of my silky beads, and if you notice, I've got all of these silky beads lined up with the bump sort of facing in the same direction. Scooch in just a little bit so you can see that better. And I find that it's easier when you've got beads where it matters which side is up and which side isn't, so that I can make sure I put it through the same hole each time I do. So for this one, if the lump or bump is going horizontally, I'm putting my needle through vertically, and I'm going to go through the right side hole every single time. So I can pick that up, pick up a fire polish bead, pick up another silky, pick up a fire polish bead, and I'm just making sure I go through the same hole each time I do this. And I am going to pick up enough silkies to get me bracelet length. They're all going to be on my thread like that. Oh, I forgot my fire polish bead. Fire polish, ooh, and here we go. I don't know which side I'm going on. Same one. So that they can all be in the same order. And for me, that's going to be a 7.5-inch wrist, so about 7.25 inches on here, because there's going to be loops and buttons for closures. Maybe 7.5, so it's a little bit loose. That would be fine. But I'm going to put these guys on here and see how it looks at that point. Hold on, buddy. Alright, and while I'm stacking these on, let me tell you a little bit about the bead subscription that I am using for this. It is the Adornable Elements Beads of the Month, and I subscribe to the Seed Bead Beads of the Month and the 2-hole bead Beads of the Month clubs. And they also have sent me some rotating Beads of the Month things, just as an addition, because they like the videos that I make. And this month's was the these fire polish beads. So you can see I'm just kind of lining them all up, all in a row, with a silky and a fire polish bead, one after another, as we go through here. I will put a link in the description if you want to check out the Beads of the Month Club. I believe they are getting ready to ship the July shipment, so you should be able to see me unboxing that pretty soon. Probably maybe by this weekend, this next weekend. We'll see. One more. But I have really been enjoying it as a bead subscription, so I am happy to show y'all how to use some of these beads. A little bit more. Alright, I'm going to check my length, see where that is. I have this right here. I think I need just a little bit more. I want to get over here to 18 centimeters because that's about 7 inches. It's good to know lengths in multiple sizes. So I had already checked all of my previous beads, but I'm getting some new beads out. So I'm just going to check that both of the holes work on these beads that I pulled out, because there's nothing worse than putting some 2-hole beads on your work and getting most of the way through your project, and then suddenly, hold on, I'm out of shot, and then suddenly you have to take it all apart because one of the 2-hole beads that you already put on, like way down at the bottom, doesn't have a second hole that works. Doesn't happen that often, but it happens enough that it's a good idea to check it before starting your work. Like, I think I've only ever had it happen to me twice. And that's why I'm so like, you know what, just check it. It doesn't take that long to double check both holes in your 2-hole bead. So let me move this back up here and see. There we go, 18 inches. All right. So one of these ends is going to be with a loop. Scooch back out. One of the ends on this is going to be a loop, and the other end is going to be the button closure. And I'm trying to decide if I want button closure on this side or on this side. Why don't we do button closure on this side? So I've got my little tiara cast button. It's got a thistle on it, and I'm going to pull out some of these 11-0 seed beads. I'm going to pick up 4 11-0 seed beads. 1, 2, no, let's do 3. 1, 2, 3, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. 6. I'm sort of making this up as I go. So I want to have a little bit of space between the end of my work and the seed bead, and the button. So I'm going to put my needle through the button, and I'm going to pick up 3 more seed beads. 1, 2, 3, like that. Let's pick this up and scooch a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to skip these 3 seed beads right before the button. These are not the ones that I just added to my needle. These are the ones that I put on before I went through the button. I'm going to skip all 3 of those and sew into this 4th button from the 4th seed bead from the button. And this is going to be a little bit loosey-goosey until we tighten everything up, and that's okay. Let's just going around like that. Then I'm going to add 2 seed beads and go into the 2nd hole on my silky. So I've got the button on. I'm going to flip this over so you can see. This just makes kind of a figure 8 right there, coming out of the end of that silky. I'm going to leave that like that. We'll go back and reinforce it when we go back through the second time. But right now, we need to go down the other side of this bracelet because we only went down one side. And now we're going to go down the other side. We're going to add a fire polish bead in between each of these silkies as we sew through the second hole all the way through to the end. So I'm going to pick up a fire polish bead and then sew through that second hole on the next silky. Like that. And then I'm going to pick up a fire polish bead, sew through the next hole on the silky. I'm going to keep doing that all the way to the end, and when we get to the end I will meet you back there. We will make a loop for our button at the other end, and then we'll go back across the whole thing with our seed beads and just do a little bit of embellishment. Okay, so I've got both sides done. I'm coming out of the first silky that I started with. I still have my little stop bead here. I'm going to leave that just for a minute until I am finished with making my loop and I'm headed back down the other way to start adding my embellishment. But for now, I'm going to pick up 1, 2, 3, and then after these 3 seed beads, this is going to be however many beads it takes to make a loop that will fit around my button. Because buttons can be different sizes, so I'm not going to give you an exact number. I will count it out though, so you'll know how many I'm doing. I'm going to start with 20 and see if that's going to be enough for me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. What? Is that 16? Hold on. Counting with Becky. 1, 10, 15. I tend to count by 5s. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. All right, so I've got these 3 that I put on. They're going to drop down there. And then just right here in my little place where I've got my thread, far away from where I've got the other ones so I don't accidentally include them, I'm going to bend my thread just kind of pinch the ends together like that. And that is probably not going to be large enough, but I'm just going to double check. And I was right, so let's add 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you're keeping score, that means I've got 25 on here, and that's in addition to the 3 that I already added. All right. Oop. What are you doing, buddy? There we go. Loop. Let's check the button, and we want to make sure it'll not just slide on the end, but actually go all the way around. Yes. That's perfect. Okay, so 25 is going to be a perfect button. Loop, closure. Okay, so I've got my 25 on there, and then I've got my 3 down here, and I haven't pushed the 25 down next to this 3 because I'm going to just sew back through this top, that 3rd one from when I added before. I'm going to pinch this and pull my loop close. And now I'm going to take my stop bead off because I am done with that. I don't need it anymore. I'm going to hold that out of the way while I pick up 2 more seed beads and go through this second hole on that silky. And I just want to go through this silky hole. I don't want to go through the crystals yet. I'm just going to tighten these up just a little bit. Make sure that everything is nice and neat. Make sure my loop is good. Now my next little part here, just going to scooch in a little bit, is where I'm going to be adding just a little bit of a seed bead embellishment along the edges of my silkies. So I'm coming out of this hole on this silky. I'm going to sew back into that same hole and make a little loop, but first I'm going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads. So when I go back through that hole and then sew through the fire polish bead that's next to it and the next silky bead, like that, when I pull this through all the way, it's a little bit loose because I took off that stop bead. That's okay, because I can just give that a little tug to secure it. So now it's going to have just a little decoration right there on the outside edge of that silky. And now I'm coming out of this next silky. I'm going to pick up 3 more seed beads. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go back through that silky that I'm coming out of, back through the same hole, just, you know, from the other side. Don't be awkward. Through the next fire polish bead and then through that silky. I just want to let this go all the way through while I'm holding it here so you can see it pop into place right there on the end. Alright, and because I don't like this being all loosey-goosey, I'm going to go ahead and take my tail thread and I'm going to tie it off and weave it in so that it is out of my way. Then I'm going to do that same thing all the way down to the end of this bracelet where my button is, and I'll meet you back there. Alright, so I have added these little clusters of 11/0 seed beads right there between the fire polish beads and over the edges of the silkies on one side, and I'm coming out here on the end next to where I've got my button. Actually, let me tip that back so you can see that. I'm coming out of this fire polish bead. I'm going to go ahead and go through the silky bead, and then I'm going to reinforce my button by going through the silky all the way. And then I'm going to go up through those first 3. Oop. My thread is getting a little bit on the short side. I'm going to move my needle there so it's a little bit longer. There we go. I may have to add more thread before the end of this project, and that's fine. Just find a place to tie off and then add more thread and weave the ends through when you do, if you have to add more thread. But I'm going to go through all of the seed beads, all of them in this loop. It goes through the button and back down. Again, through that button that's kind of the central one. Right there. And then I started on this side. See, that's the one that I've got all my seed beads added. So I'm going to go back up along this side. Wait, did I do one? I did one there. I should have done one here. You know what? It's not too late. I'm going to go back and fix that by going through here. I'm just going to maneuver my thread and needle back to where I'm coming out of that side of my seed, or my silky, by going through this side of this silky, and then I'm just going to pop up over here, just bring my needle back through this silky. I should have done that. I don't know why I didn't. I'm gonna tuck that guy in just a little bit. Pick up my 3 seed beads, 1, 2, 3. Bloop, 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 like that. And I'm gonna turn things around by going up through these 2 seed beads here. Scooching just a little bit. Those 2 seed beads there. And then down through these 2 seed beads here on the other side. There we go. I was just moving the stuff out of the way so the camera doesn't get confused. And try to focus on that instead of on my fingers. There we go. So now I'm coming there. Ha! I did it. I fixed the little mistake that I was making. Sometimes you gotta just go backtrack and go back and fix your little mistake. But now I'm going to start again. I'm going to add my 3 on this side. 1, 2, 3. And so through the silky, the fire polish bead, and then if I can get it at the right angle, I'll sew through the silky next to it, but I couldn't get it at that angle on this one. So I'll just do it in 2 steps. There we go. Like the way that they look like little clusters of grapes. This is a very grape coated bracelet. Like it's very much one country kind of thing. With the little clusters of beads and these. I mean, this is the color of green grapes. You cannot tell me that that's not the color that grapes are. It absolutely is. I just got to get more beads out because I used my little pile. That's what happens. And then all I'm going to do now is do the same thing on this other side that I did on the first side by picking up my 3 seed beads and then sewing through the silky, the fire polish, and the next silky. And it looks like I can't angle it right, so that's okay, because we'll do it in 2 steps. That way we'll have our little clusters on both sides of our silkies all the way down the line until we get to the end. So I'm going to do that, and I will meet you there at the end, and we'll just finish it up by reinforcing our loop at the other end and then tying off our thread. So I'll meet you back there. Alright, we are just about done. I've got both sides all done. One of the reasons that we went up one side, down the other, and then up one side, down the other, was to reinforce the thread as we went through and added our seed beads. So now that we've got this here, I'm coming out of that silky bead here at the end, and I need to remember, don't forget, to put those 3 seed beads on here at the very end too. So I'm going to pick those up and go through these first, oh no, I'm going around the silky. Ha! Yes, we're going around the silky, that's what we're doing. So now that we've got those added, now we can go through these 3 seed beads, and then I'm going to sew all the way around my loop, and that is going to reinforce the loop by going through all of these beads. There we go. Almost done. Ellen wishes I was done now. She can wait just a minute. Just a minute. We are almost done. There we go. Then I'm going to go back down through here. And I'm just going to go through these seed beads on the outside. Just on this side, I'm not going to go through all of it. and then down into here. And from here I can start tying off and sewing through my work. Just gonna do a real quick. Oh, you are okay. Half hitch knot here. Oop. And then go through the work a little bit more. Through here. You can go back through and reinforce the whole thing if you want to do a couple more passes. That's fine. Well, okay then. She's really grumpy at me. I've spent way too much time with y'all. Not enough with her. Alright, there we go. So, once it's tied off, you can cut it off and then burn down your threads. And then you have a bracelet made with our lumpy silkies, some fire polish beads, and some 11 seed beads. And I think that this is an easy enough project that even if you're a beginner with bead weaving, you can do this. I know you could. There aren't any complicated like machinations. You're just going straight up one side, making a loop, coming straight down the other side, making another loop, and then doing your little loops along the edges, down one side and then back down another. So it is something that if you're new to this and you aren't sure if you want to try bead weaving or not, give that a try. You might like it. You may enjoy it. Anyway, I will leave links to Adornable Elements if you want to check out the Beads of the Month Club. If there are any of these beads that you want, let them know. And if they've got extras, you can just buy those without having to sign up for any of the clubs. But I really enjoy getting the beads every month so that I can have some beads that are already set to go together. It's a great stash builder. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. Happy beading.